For more than 20 years, Brooks Fabrication had repaired ranch equipment, trailers, and custom metal projects across the county. My reputation was built on honest work and detailed records. That's why I immediately noticed the unfamiliar luxury SUV parked inside my workshop one Monday morning. My office manager explained that the SUV had been dropped off over the weekend with instructions requesting custom security modifications. No payment authorization or signed work order had been left behind. Something immediately felt unusual. When I checked the registration information, I recognized the owner's name instantly. The vehicle belonged to the president of the local HOA, someone I had met only once at a community meeting. I decided to verify everything before touching the vehicle. After several unanswered phone calls, I documented the vehicle's condition with photographs and completed a standard intake inspection. Every detail was recorded according to shop policy. Good documentation protects everyone involved. Later that afternoon, Karen arrived demanding immediate access to the SUV. I explained that the vehicle was being held until ownership, authorization, and documentation could be properly verified. She became visibly frustrated. I politely asked Karen to show me the signed repair authorization. Instead of answering, she insisted that the SUV was too important to wait. Shop policy applied to every customer equally, no matter who they were. Karen claimed she had permission from one of my employees to leave the SUV. My office manager immediately checked the appointment records. There wasn't a single scheduled booking under her name. To avoid any misunderstanding, I called my attorney before making another decision. He advised me preserve everything exactly as it was until ownership and authorization questions were resolved. Every step needed to be documented. Following that legal advice, I built a temporary steel evidence enclosure around the parked SUV. The structure wasn't attached to the vehicle and caused no damage. It simply prevented anyone from moving it until the paperwork was sorted out. Bright signs reading temporary evidence area, authorized access only, were attached to the enclosure. Security cameras recorded every angle inside the workshop. Everything followed standard documentation procedures. Karen returned later that afternoon, demanding the enclosure be removed immediately. I calmly explained that the SUV would be released as soon as the required documentation was completed. My answer only frustrated her further. A sheriff's deputy arrived after receiving a request to keep the discussion peaceful. After reviewing the shop records, the deputy encouraged both sides to resolve the paperwork through the proper legal process. Everyone remained professional. The deputy examined the inspection photographs taken when the SUV first arrived. Every image matched the vehicle's current condition exactly. The documentation removed any doubt about how the SUV had been handled. My attorney arrived carrying copies of the shop service agreement and state repair regulations. He explained that documentation and authorization protected both the customer and the business. Karen listened without interrupting for the first time. After reviewing the records, Karen admitted that the SUV had been dropped off before completing the required paperwork. She apologized for assuming the vehicle could simply be collected without following the process. The conversation became much calmer. The missing authorization forms were completed and signed that afternoon. Payment arrangements were also finalized according to the shop's normal policies. Every requirement was now properly documented. Once everything had been verified, my crew carefully dismantled the freestanding steel enclosure. The Mercedes remained untouched throughout the entire process. The shop floor returned to normal. Karen personally inspected the SUV before driving away. She confirmed that the vehicle was exactly as it had been when it arrived. The careful documentation had protected everyone involved. Before leaving, Karen thanked the employee for handling the situation professionally. She admitted that following the proper procedures had avoided a much larger dispute. The atmosphere had completely changed. As the shop doors closed that evening, I filed completed paperwork with the rest of the project records. It reminded me that good documentation is often the strongest tool any business can have. Sometimes the simplest procedures prevent the biggest problems. A few days later, my attorney suggested we review every security camera recording from the weekend the SUV arrived. The footage showed exactly who delivered the vehicle and when it entered my workshop. Every timestamp matched my intake records perfectly. The recordings confirmed the SUV had been left without anyone completing the required authorization forms. My office manager followed the exact intake procedure despite the missing paperwork. The documentation protected the business from unnecessary confusion. My attorney organized every photograph, inspection report, and signed document into a single evidence binder. Each page clearly documented the vehicle's condition from arrival to pickup. The complete file left no unanswered questions. Karen later contacted me to thank the shop for keeping detailed records. She admitted that the organized documentation had helped resolve the misunderstanding much faster. Professional procedures had benefited everyone involved. To prevent similar situations in the future, I updated our customer intake process. Every vehicle would now require digital authorization before entering the workshop. The new system made the process even more transparent. The updated system quickly proved its value. Customers appreciated receiving digital copies of every inspection, estimate, and completed work order. Trust in the business became even stronger. Several neighboring businesses visited my shop to learn about the new documentation process. We shared ideas about protecting customers while maintaining clear business records. The experience helped improve standards throughout the community. Months later, Brooks Fabrication earned recognition from the local business association for outstanding customer service and record keeping. The award reflected years of consistent professionalism. My entire team shared in the achievement. Looking back, I realized the disagreement had never been about the SUV itself. It was about following clear procedures that protect both customers and